Going on, squad? Hope everybody's had an amazing start to their week. Today, Coach Cruz is coming at you live with some massage ball, upper body massage ball mobility. This is something that I do usually like once or twice throughout the week, like a full upper body release with just the massage ball, because you could really get into all the crevices. Sounded terrible, but all those kind of like kinks and little corners that you can't normally get with a foam roller. So that being said, I wanted to show you guys a little trick before I got started. And the reason I'm topless, again, of course, is to show you how my posture is currently and then how I look afterwards, okay? Because I did a bit of mobility earlier, but I really just touched my lats. I didn't go into my back too much. I did some rotations just to warm up my T-spine, but I didn't do too much. Excuse me, it was mostly lower body mobility because today was another leg day. But here's a quick trick, okay? So if you grab a longer sock and you take your lacrosse ball and actually throw it in there, that will make it easier for you to navigate with the ball on your back, okay? Specifically your back. Because when we go into our chest area and our shoulders, it's a little bit easier because it's in the front. You can kind of like adjust it with your hands. But when it's behind you, it's so much better to have this, okay? Now, before we get started, I want you guys to get a good, clear-eye view of my posture, okay? So this is kind of how I'm looking right now, just relaxed, okay? And if you want to do kind of side-by-side comparisons, you could always pull it up on the replay and rewind and fast forward between the before and after, okay? So that is before. Now I'm gonna move you guys real quick just so you get a good, clear visual of what exactly I'm doing. So first things first, when you are on the wall, lacrosse ball on your back, always make sure that your butt is on the wall, okay? Because I've had very bad experiences before where I've taken my butt off the wall and I tried to really get in there, and it ended up causing more of a kink in my back. So just, as a quick heads up, anytime you are doing any sort of mobility work with a ball on your back, make sure to keep your butt on the wall, okay? And then what you're gonna do is your legs are what's gonna be navigating you up and down on that ball. Now, that being said, whenever you're doing any sort of lacrosse ball mobility work and soft tissue work, the golden rule is that if you feel tingles in your extremities, like in your legs, your toes, your feet, your fingers, if you feel tingles, it means you're actually on a nerve, so just get off of it, okay? So for starters, first thing I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna come up and down on my scapula, okay? So that little wing part of your back, I'm gonna place the ball exactly where it is right now. I'm gonna put my pressure on it with my butt on the wall, and I'm gonna come up and down, okay? So the first thing I typically get into is my scap. And again, this makes it a lot easier because now I can navigate. But you can kind of hear my butt or my lower back scraping against the wall. That's because whenever I am rolling, just so that I can really control the amount of pressure and body weight that I'm applying onto that ball, I make sure to keep contact with my butt and my lower back. Okay, so the idea here is I'm actually trying to go up and down my whole scapula, right? So right in through that shoulder blade, kind of where that shoulder blade connects to your back, you want to get up and down there, okay? And once I've done that a few times, I feel like it's been released enough, but after what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll down until the ball is actually underneath my trap. Okay, so right below my trap. So once that ball is directly below my trap, I'm going to take now my 4 fingers and I'm going to press in to my trap and come side to side. Okay, this one actually you might get a better visual from the front to see exactly what I'm doing here. But yeah, so I'm putting the ball right underneath my trap, making sure it's underneath here. Then I'm taking my 4 fingers, I'm pressing into the front of my trap, and I'm coming side to side. Be careful with this one. You don't want to push way too hard. You don't want to like jabby stabby your trap too hard from the front. So just be mindful of how much pressure you're applying with your fingers. But the idea is kind of breaking down all the muscle tissue in your traps, because typically throughout the day we're very forward rounded. And that does cause our trap ones, our top traps there, to become very overactive. Just come side to side, and I'll get as close as here when I'm pressing. Okay, so I'll get pretty close to my neck, and I'm trying to release all throughout that portion. It's almost like I'm trying to pin that trap in between the ball and my fingers, and I'm coming side to side. Now, after I've done my trap, I'm actually going to go into my rear shoulder, okay? And this one's a pretty easy one. You kind of just want to place it behind your rear shoulder, if that makes sense. Because if that's my rear shoulder right there, I'm trying to get behind it, okay? So once I get behind it, this one is a little weird. You're not really going to do too much movement. I kind of just like do circular motions or side to side motions. And then once I feel a trigger point, I'll try and just sink into the wall. Like I'll apply as much body weight as I can into that ball, right up against the wall. And even if you feel comfortable to do so, it might feel really painful, but you could actually go on to the rear shoulder. But I typically start behind it, just because that's where a lot of the tension tends to build up in that rear shoulder. Okay. All right. Now that that's released, I'm going to give you guys a visual, because I've done my my scap and my lats, right? So I started down at the bottom of my scap, I rolled all the way up. I've done my trap, and I've done my rear shoulder. So I don't know if you guys can see the difference. Hopefully I'm in the center. This is the side that I just did the soft tissue work with the ball on. And I could feel it. I could literally feel it, that this one's a little bit tighter than the left one. And you could probably see it too, that my left one is a lot more loose and limber, and a little bit more, relaxed, right? But now from the side, you can also see my internal rotation has gotten a little bit better, right? In relation to this side, right? You see how much more forward the shoulder is pulled forward, right? You can really see it. This is just me relaxed, okay? Versus this. And that is even before we've gotten into our chest, right? This is just me doing the one side. So I'm just going to quickly even out, because whatever you do to one side, you must do to the other. We don't like imbalances. We like symmetry. That's one thing that I actually, I'm grateful for from bodybuilding. That's one thing I learned from bodybuilding, that like symmetry is very important. And not just aesthetically, but for like a healthy life, from a healthy life perspective, or just a functional perspective, you do want your body to be as symmetrical as possible. Now, that being said, it's never going to be fully symmetrical. There's always going to be some sort of like slight imbalance. Quote me if I'm wrong, but I don't think anybody in the world is fully symmetrical. But we strive for symmetry, because that will help us across the board with everything in regards to our physical being. So this right side is actually very, very tight. That's something I do want to mention as well. Whenever you're doing any sort of soft tissue works with these apparatuses, whether it be the ball, the foam roller, or the Pso-Rite, whatever you're using, you need to be very intuitive and mindful of how your body is responding, okay? Just pay attention to what you're feeling before, during, and after, because that's typically how you're going to make that mental connection of like, oh, this is what it feels like when I'm severely forward-rounded, or my traps are super tight. And then you start to gain a bit of a clear understanding of your body. And that's really what we're striving for here. We want to gain a better understanding of our bodies and how they move. But yeah, I'm right hand dominant, like I'm right-handed. So typically I use my right hand for everything, which also does explain why there's a little bit more tension on this side. Like I could probably spend a whole last 10 minutes, but just for time's sake, I'm not going to. But you can probably see now, just after a bit of rolling there, a little bit more symmetrical. I'm gonna review the video afterwards too to see, but I feel more symmetrical. Like this shoulder feels more depressed, whereas before it was a little bit higher, maybe around here. But now my relaxed posture, you can probably even see from my side, now the shoulders pulled back a little bit more, right? A little bit more even. Now, the next thing we are going to get into is, and the last thing, is our chest, okay, and our shoulder. Now, whenever you're doing your chest and your shoulder, you're rolling out your chest and your shoulder with the lacrosse ball. If any of you guys have ever been to an ice rink, which I'm assuming the vast majority of you have, especially all of my fellow Canadians, you've seen a Zamboni, right? So I want you to think of the lacrosse ball as a Zamboni, and you're trying to clear the ice. You're trying to flatten that ice, right? So what I typically do is start just below the collarbone, and I'll roll out towards my front shoulder here, okay? Then after that, I'll come about a 1/4 inch down, roll out towards the shoulder, 1/4 inch down, roll out towards the shoulder. I'll usually go 3 to 4 times down until I'm about halfway through my chest. I rarely ever roll down here. I was taught not to, so I typically only go to about midpoint of my chest. And this is what it's gonna look like. Okay? So I'm starting, get you right up against the wall with me. So I'm starting right underneath the collarbone. Okay, and also, quick note, you do want to externally rotate, okay? You don't want to be internally rotated, you want to externally rotate while you're up against that wall. So I'm here now, I'm pinning my body weight, I'm using my other hand as a support, and again, my legs are what's guiding the ball across my chest, okay? The reason you have to use your legs is because these are your stabilizers, right? And like what I was saying about putting your butt against the wall when you're rolling out your back, you don't want to apply too much pressure, right? The objective here isn't to be in like excruciating pain. Although it will feel uncomfortable, it's going to be painful, especially your first few times if you've never used a lacrosse ball before in this manner, then it's going to be painful. Like it's going to feel uncomfortable. But as you start to acclimate to it and kind of condition your body to what it feels like, you'll be able to get a little bit deeper in, okay? It's like if you've ever gone for a deep tissue massage, first time you go for one, you're like, oh my God, this is far from relaxing, because it's not supposed to be relaxing, right? It's actually supposed to hurt. It's meant to hurt, but not to the point of excruciating pain. I have to emphasize that. Okay, so now that I've rolled my chest, I want to get in between my chest and my anterior delt. So like just above my armpit here. Okay, I'm going to place the ball right in that little crevice there, and I'm just going to apply as much pressure as I can. Again, externally rotated, you don't want to be internally rotated. So externally rotated, ball in that little crevice between your chest and your shoulder. And what I'll typically do here is I'll take a deep breath, and I'll exhale, nice and long, okay? And I'm trying to get that ball right into this crevice. I'm just relaxing it. I'm not doing any sort of movement. I'm not going side to side. I'm not going up and down. I'm literally just taking deep breaths, exhaling, and sinking into that ball as much as I can, right? So after that 2 minutes of rolling out my chest, let's see the results, okay? So now if I'm standing straight, it's a very subtle change because I've already rolled out my back. But you can see my left shoulder is slightly lower now. It's slightly lower than my right shoulder. Even the activation in my pec, I didn't mean to do that, but it's just hyperactive right now. But then you can see from my side perspective, my posture is restored. So I'm back to normal. This is me relaxed. Whereas when I first started, my shoulders were about here, right? So just simply after rolling out my scapula, my traps, my rear delts, my chest, and my front shoulder, look at how much better my posture has become, right? And mind you, I've done the left side, I haven't done the right side yet. So let's look at the right side. You see where the right side is, you can kind of see where my tattoo ends off here, and then you could gauge kind of how much chest you can see, right? Now I'm going to go into the right side, and then we'll see what the final product looks like. So this has been 15 minutes so far, perfect. I'm making good time. Again, externally rotate, you do not want to be internally rotated, okay? What I typically do, I'm trying to speak to the camera, so I'm looking this way, but whichever side I'm doing, I'm looking away from that side. So rolling, replacing, 1/4 inch down, rolling again, 1/4 inch down, quick quick note, try not to hold your breath. You do want to be breathing when you're doing any sort of soft tissue stretching or mobility. Okay, now I'm going to get into that shoulder, in between that chest and that shoulder. Take my deep breath. My right side is definitely far worse than my left, especially because this is my first time this week, because it's Tuesday, actually getting into my upper body with the lacrosse ball. But now you can see, let me straighten that out. Now you can see I'm a little bit more symmetrical, right? Looking from the side perspective, now you can see a bit more booty, see more chest, right? Because my shoulder is peeled back a little bit more. So that is all for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. Shout out to anybody who tuned in live. And for the rest of you, the replay will be up very soon. A little bit of redness afterwards is completely normal. It's nothing to be worried about. I have to reiterate, the only thing you should be concerned about is if you feel numbness or tingling in your fingers, your hands, your feet, or your toes, okay? If you feel any sort of tingling, like, you know, when you when your leg falls asleep or your foot falls asleep, if you feel that, then you have to get off of whatever spot you're on with the ball, because you're probably just on a nerve, okay? It's not gonna kill you, but you don't wanna continue to, you know, try to pound on that nerve, because then you can cause some damage. But anyways, I'm logging off because it is time for me to have some dinner. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. But for now, coach is out. Peace, love, and all the protons. May the gains be with you.